Hi everyone, Huang Laoshi here, and I have a quick video just to show you how to use this new word "guo" in Chinese to show past experiences. And this isn't too difficult a pattern, but there are some tricky things that we'll want to take a look at as we go through this. So the first thing that we wanted to look at is the pattern for this. So this is the basic pattern, and it's really simple. You just have a subject, a verb, then you insert the word "guo" directly after the verb, and then have an object. So let's take a look at a few examples. First one is 我去过中国, and this has the meaning that I have been to China. I have had the experience of doing this before. Now the tricky part is that for English speakers that we just simply use past tense or present perfect tense to show this, but this shows in Chinese instead that you've had the experience of doing this, that you've done this once before. And this isn't easy to figure out from the English, although we'll see it in the question form and in the negative form that this will be a little easier to discern when we speak in English. But for our purposes right now, let's just take a look at some more examples. Second example, 我吃过饺子. So I have eaten dumplings before. I've had the experience of this. Not everyone has. Not everyone has been to Fuman Dumpling House right by Lakeside and had some of their great jiaozi. Next one. 你自己做过饭吗? This is something that for you as high school students you need to think about. Have you ever made food by yourself? And so this is a question form, and it's really clear to see that we use the word ever to say, have you ever done something in the question form to show the experience of this? And if you answered, 我自己做过饭, I have made food before, the English doesn't show this very well. Okay, next one. 你学过法文吗? So we're all studying Chinese right now, and we know that this is the case. Have you ever studied French? And then if you have, you could say, oh, 学过. Yes, I have studied this before. Okay, now very briefly, let's take a look at the negative. The negative is pretty simple. You just add the word may or mayo into the pattern. The tricky thing, potentially, is that we keep the word go in here. When we learned about le, about completed action le, that we learned that when we said negative completed action, that we use mayo or may by itself, but you can't have le with it. But in this case, when showing that you haven't had the experience of doing something, you haven't ever done something before, and notice how this phrase here really shows it in English, you have to have both of these together. And here they are both. Let's take a look at some examples. First one, 我没去过中国. I've never been to China before. Okay? And again, the English, I've never done something, shows the sense that you haven't had the experience of doing it. Another one. 他没看过这本书. Think for a second what you think the English would be. Now, if you thought that he hasn't ever read this book, he has not ever read this book, then you have the right example. Another one. 我妈妈没用过电脑. This is probably less and less a case these days in our very wired age, but for some families, older people haven't ever used computers before. So my mom has never used a computer before. Okay, then finally, the last thing we want to take a look at is the question form. And we've seen some examples already that you just add ma at the end, but an alternate way of doing this is simply to substitute mayo for ma. And we have one example where we can see both forms of this. This would be 你包过饺子吗? Have you ever made dumplings before? Oops, I have that wrong. I have... Sorry, I'm going to do this differently. Have you ever made dumplings before? Now, the alternate way is to substitute ma with mayo. So think of how you would say this, and we'll see how it turns out. 你包过饺子没有? Have you ever made dumplings before? And if you want to answer, yes, I have, you simply say 包过 or 我包过饺子. And if you haven't, you just simply say 没有 or a longer phrase 我没有包过饺子. And that's it. Thanks for listening to this lesson. See you next time.